Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch, and welcome to what is now the third annual confession video where I tell you all of my sins of the preceding 12 months and ask for your forgiveness. I buy a lot of watches. I've got a YouTube watch review channel. Of course, I buy a lot of watches. And indeed, in 2021 and 2022, I bought exactly an average of one watch per week. This year, I feel like I've let myself down. I added everything up, checked it, and then double checked it and triple checked it, and it turns out that I've only bought 46 watches this year. Now, that is more than most people buy in a lifetime, but somehow I can't help think I'm a bit short. So, I gave myself a stern talking to, and I promise all of you I will do better in 2024. Now, a lot of those watches come in and out of the door pretty quickly. I buy them for review, I review them, and I sell them, and I use the money to buy more watches for review. But some of them I buy with the best intentions in my heart, with the aim of loving these watches forever, of them becoming part of my permanent collection. How many of the 46 do you think managed that feat this year? Stay tuned and we'll find out. In fact, we'll find out what happened to every single watch. And be sure to confess your sins in the comment section. How many watches did you buy this year? Did you have a buying year or a selling year? Was there anything special that came in and rocked your world? Or was it another year of churning and burning? I'm looking forward to reading your comments. Alright, I'm going to squeeze over a bit today so I can put the purchase number, model name and thumbnail if applicable over there, and you still get to see my smiling face over here. And I'm going to start with an absolute belter. Indeed, it's so good it made my top 5 selection last year and is still an important part of my collection. It's the Baltony Military Chronograph. I cannot speak highly enough about this watch for $150 or less during a sale. It is outstanding. Seiko Mecha Quartz movement, stunning sapphire crystal, like honestly one of the top 10 bits of sapphire that I've ever seen. Great lume, bead blasted case, lovely proportions, generally a little sweetie of a watch in a category where watches can get really expensive. I've even loaned this to other YouTubers to convince them of how good it is. It never takes more than a few minutes with the watch to do the convincing. So then, one bought, one kept, a great start, but I don't think I'll keep that up, do you? And indeed, watch number 2, the Bull of a Computron, was a quick in and out. You've heard of my friend Ashley over in Melbourne, no doubt. Quite often if he knows I'm buying something, he'll ask for first refusal, and quite often I'll sell him the piece in question. A really interesting watch, this one, with that driver style display and retro futuristic looks, but there are a few other digital / LED watches that I prefer over this one, so it got flipped. But I do still have the first Seiko on today's list. It's a steel bezel tuna to bought the blue version of the same watch. I liked the blue, but when I saw it in steel, I knew I liked it better. But I knew I would like it better still with sapphire crystal, so it came straight out of the box and straight onto my mod bench. And it's still in my collection with its nice domed sapphire crystal and Marine Nationale paratrooper style strap. I don't tend to sell my modded watches. Perhaps I just need to mod everything that comes in the house if I want to hang on to them. At number 4, it was a Seiko that I bought not to mod, not to keep, but to humiliate. It's the undersized, not so plastic fantastic, Asia only SRPG model. Now, I was told by a watch retailer here in Australia that this one had been a sales disaster for the brand and that he had to sell them at a loss just to get the things moving out the door. So I bought one and I can understand why. I mean, it wasn't awful, it was light and comfortable, but it was flimsy, it was basic and kind of expensive for what it actually was. And you know, it's a watch that I have seen in the windows of numerous jewelers since then for even less money that I paid for it. Sometimes even the biggest hitters swing and miss. Next, we have a watch that will be all too familiar to viewers of this channel. It's the Oris Diver 65. Officially the 5th Oris Diver 65 that I have now owned. This one features the Caliber 400 in-house designed automatic movement with 5-day power reserve and a 10-year warranty. Now, the guys at Oris Australia did me a deal on this one, hence why I was able to sell my Solita powered version to buy one of these. Do I still have it? Drum roll please. Yes, I still have it, which is more than I can say for Oris Diver 65 number 6. You heard me right, there's another one later on today's list as well. On to watch number 6 then, another watch that I bought to humiliate. It's not often that I really go for the jugular, but this Thomas Earnshaw I think deserved it. Rubbish brand, rubbish watches trading on a false heritage of being London based. I don't think anything to do with these watches has ever been to the UK. Why did I buy it then? Well, I bought it to turn it into something else. And I did. I finally got around to modding it and pulling out the movement a few weeks ago. What remains of the old one is sitting in a cupboard. Now, I'm a big fan of the Breitling Navitimer and I'm lucky enough to have one in my collection, but that doesn't mean to say I don't look at affordable alternatives. And this is one of two that I bought this year. If you think Chinese brands are the only one borrowing Swiss designs, then have a look at this. I thought it was only okay though. Some cheaper quartz Citizens can feel a bit flimsy and sadly this was one of them, so it got sold. Alright, moving on to another watch that I know a lot of people, myself included, were really keen to see and really keen to try on at the beginning of this year. It was the Bulova Mini Lunar Pilot. So many times have I looked at the original and wished that either my wrist was bigger or the watch was smaller. So I was delighted when Bulova announced they were bringing out a new smaller Lunar Pilot, and I was slightly dismayed when I realised it wasn't actually all that much smaller than the original and had a number of other crucial changes which kind of turned it into a different watch altogether. It definitely fitted me better than the original, but I thought that it only just fitted me. So I actually took it back to the retailer that I bought it from and got a refund. Here's hoping they release a micro Lunar Pilot next year. So I've already told you that I love the Navitimer. This rotary is a homage of my all-time favourite Navitimer, the reference 806. Rotary are one of these brands that has a much bigger profile in the UK than elsewhere, so I've only looked at a couple of them before, but I bought this one on eBay for a look-see, and what I saw was a very busy dial on another watch that was perhaps a little bit too light and flimsy for its own good, so it also got flipped in short order. At number 10 it is Seiko number 3, and so far it's one hit, one miss. This one is definitely a hit. It's the Irish Coffee Presage and it has one of the most beautiful dials that I have ever encountered for the price. Now I paid 400 Aussie dollars for mine and I've still got it. I reversed the strap though because I can't get used to that back to front thing. Despite 100 comments telling me what the point of it is, it just doesn't work for me, but the rest of the watch most certainly does. Great size, stunning looks, it has almost survived 12 months in my collection. They'll be singing folk songs about it if it does. But not about this pair, I'm afraid. I bought a pair of G-Shocks from a local Aussie supplier, a super 90s colour scheme square and a super loud colour scheme Casio oak. I was gathering G-Shocks at the time because I knew that Casio had sponsored Mr. X and I for the shitbox rally that was to come. So I thought it was only fair that I had a full suite of shiny new G-Shocks to get covered in dust. The band on the square one was extra thick though, so I sold that one not long after the rally. And the yellow Casio oak was a little bit creaky, much like myself. Whatever they used to dye the yellow, the resin, adds an extra noise compared to the standard black versions. That's my excuse anyway, they both got sold. We're already into April 2023 and it's high time that I bought something from AliExpress, and indeed I bought at least 3 watches from the March anniversary sale. These 3. One was a Baltony chronograph, one was an Aries Dive military style 3-hander, and one was a pseudo moon phase by a brand called Borman. Where are they now? Don't know. I sold the lot. I wasn't a fan of the Aries Dive. As I said in the video, it just felt clunky and out of proportion. The Baltony chronograph was nice, but not as nice as the Baltony chronograph that headed today's list. So I sold this one and kept that one. And the Borman now belongs to fellow Aussie YouTuber Alistair of the Watch Channel. He borrowed it for review and loved it so much that he wanted to buy it. And who am I to deny the man his happiness? Next up, it was one of the most fun videos I have ever made. I filmed it over the course of a couple of days with the aid of my wife and my son, who made a cameo at the end looking rather cute. It was my $500 shopping mall challenge. I went around Sydney looking for the best watch I could buy in a traditional retail environment for $500 US, and I ended up with a Mark I Seiko Arnie. Great watches, and they wear much better than you think they're going to wear, especially given that my arms don't look like Arnold's arms. However, it spent a couple of months lurking in a box. I sold it for a loss and moved on. Moved on to what is my favourite Pagani watch. You notice I dropped the word design there. They didn't design this, Omega designed this and they copied it. But for about $70 you get a cracking looking watch with sapphire crystal, sapphire bezel insert, Seiko movement and a fantastic colour scheme that not even Omega can boast in their extensive catalogue. This one is a keeper. And there haven't been that many keepers on the list so far, have there? Following on from the Pagani was one of the best bargains I have managed to snag this year, a Swiss-made big brand dive watch for $140. No wonder I looked so happy and described it as a massive bargain. Now I don't like to boast, but the Aussie retailer sold out of their entire stock of Glycine Combat subs within 2 days of me making the video. And no wonder, because they were selling them a bit too cheaply. I think they were grey market stock that had come in from Ashford in the USA, but I don't care, and I don't think anyone else cared either, judging by how fast they went. Great brand, great model, but another watch that I bought to review and then sell, so I reviewed it and then sold it. The next watch on the list was a mil-spec diver by Cooper that I bought on AliExpress, and the vendor dropped the ball on my transaction not once, but twice. First of all, they sold me a watch they clearly didn't intend to actually sell and then refunded me. And then, when I purchased for a second time, they sent me a different watch from the one that I paid for. Look, not good. The watch I ended up with was fine, but the taste in my mouth was a little bitter by that point, so I sold it. Doing my best Kenneth Williams impersonation on the thumbnail, in May I told you not to buy this watch and I dubbed it the Shitty Oak. It was a poor quality Casio knockoff a subscriber had told me about. He told me it was awful and I should buy it and mock it mercilessly in a public forum, and that is exactly what I did. This list is peppered with Seikos and I reckon it's about a 50-50 as to whether they survived the year or not. In May, I bought a Seiko direct from Japan that I had previously owned but sold and then regretted selling. The watch in question is the Mini Turtle. Now I've still got it, but I'll be honest, I haven't worn it all that much. That is generally not a good sign. Let's see if it can hang on to a slot in my watch box until its first birthday. Knowing me, I will probably sell it, regret it, and have to buy it for a third time. Moving on to the next AliExpress triple unboxing. This time it was my haul from the mid-year sale in June. I remember when you buy stuff from Ali and it would take 6 to 8 weeks to arrive. Nowadays, packages are landing before the sale has even finished. And in the mid-year sale, I bought an Aries Dive Willard with a wave dial and stainless steel bezel. I bought a Lobini micro rotor with the same Hangzhou movement used by Baltic and others. And I bought a Specht und Zorn watch that was undoubtedly a Bell & Ross knockoff. I did make a full review of the Aries Dive, decent watch if you want something a bit different from the standard 1970s, but I sold it. I also made a review of the Lobini micro rotor, one of the best looking AliExpress watches I've ever seen, hampered only by an unnecessary date wheel. I haven't sold that one and I have no plans to sell that one either. But the Specht und Sonne was a complete disaster. I could not work out what was going on. I kept pressing the buttons on the chronograph, but it didn't seem to work. And then I realised they had deleted the 60-second chrono timer sub-register at the 6. They had either bought the wrong movements or made the wrong dials, but then they just decided to sell the bloody things anyway rather than fixing the problems. Disgraceful. I sold it for 25 Aussie dollars with a clear warning of how bad it was. Another Seiko then, and not just any Seiko, but a King Seiko. Now I've been sworn off fancy Seikos for a number of years because I just don't trust them in terms of quality control, but this one was half price and it was a friend of mine selling it here in Sydney. What could possibly go wrong? Especially considering that stunning red wine dial. And it's a great watch, but unfortunately the 6-hour movement in the back of it couldn't keep time if its life depended on it. It was just within tolerances when fully wound, but as the charge diminished it got slower and slower and slower. I haven't taken it back to Seiko yet for a service, but I will because it's still under warranty. I won't be holding my breath for its speedy return though, put it that way. From another Seiko then to another Bulova, this time the bright orange Devil Diver. What a colour! Undoubtedly the most intense orange on the dial of any watch I have ever seen. And you know who's got a thing for intense shade of orange? my friend Ashley over in Melbourne. He spotted the review, sent me the cash, and I sent the watch from New South Wales to Victoria. They've just launched the GMT version of the Devil Diver. Just putting it out there now, Ash. Is there a deal to be done? Let me know in the comments section, mate. Now, Casio are, of course, one of my favourite watch brands, if not my favourite watch brand. So when they release something new, I'm always keen to take a look. This WS1600 is another ridiculously well-spec'd watch for $22 US. It's basically an AE1300 with a slightly different dial configuration, so it's got a countdown timer on the dial rather than the world map of the AE1200. Take your pick really, they're all as good as each other. I prefer the 1200 though, so this one got sold. I also sold another watch that I bought purely to roast. It's the Citizen C3PO, or at least that's what I was going to call it before I saw how bad it was, how ridiculously outdated and overpriced it was for a watch they've been manufacturing for decades. So I changed the thumbnail. This cost me well over $300, and I thought perhaps on a good day with the wind blowing in the right direction, it was worth possibly maybe half of that. So I bought it, I roasted it, I sold it for a loss, and I moved on to the next one. The next watch being the Casio iTroll, one of my most popular videos of the year with 250,000 views. Because it was a Casio watch that looked a lot like an Apple Watch. Now it was actually alright, assuming you could get one for a decent price. Unfortunately, that became a little bit harder because 250,000 people who perhaps didn't know about the watch before suddenly became aware of the watch after watching my video. Several other YouTubers picked up on this one as well, so good luck finding one cheap these days. Someone in Australia did, because I sold mine to them. Another Pagani review, this time the Pagani Philippe. Or at least that's what I called it. It's another mid-century Patek lookalike, and for $65 it was the cheapest I'd come across, hence why I bought it. A bit rough when you get too close to it under macro, so don't get too close to it under macro. I think I sold it, but honestly, I'm not 100% sure. One watch I did not sell was the Momentum Sea Quartz, aka Magnum PI's watch from the early seasons of the TV show. I've been buying more and more quartz for me this year, and this was the first watch that I had pre-ordered personally in ages. I didn't mind the weight and the watch was worth it, even though the first one they sent me broke. The second one was much better and is still ticking away happily in my watch box. This one is a keeper. Now I did warn you there was going to be another Oris Diver 65 on the list today, and indeed there is. But I'm so ashamed of my Oris flipping now that I didn't make a video about it. It slipped into my collection courtesy of my friend Ashley in Melbourne. It appeared in one Instagram post when I confessed my ownership sins, and then it slipped back out of my collection for the same price I paid for it after another friend, Jason in WA, asked if it was for sale. Don't judge me. Alright, judge me. I'm past caring anyway. Look, it's a sad state of affairs, but the truth is, if you stick Rolex on a thumbnail, you're guaranteed views, and this video got quite a few. It was the first of a couple of colourful Citizens that I bought towards the second half of the year. This one was the Super 7, and I said it was an affordable alternative to the colourful Oyster Perpetuals that you simply can't buy, even if you want to. I love the colour, I love the unusual day and date layout, and I love the brand. But I didn't love all that enough to keep it because I sold it to buy another Citizen watch, which you'll see in a minute or two. Is this the last Seiko on the list today? Possibly. It's another straight from Japan through buy.jp purchase. It's the SARY183, aka the Hojicha Roasted Green Tea Seiko Presage Cocktail Time. Now there's a local here in Australia called Tim who has one of these and can't help himself but post amazing pictures of it on Facebook, to the extent that I couldn't help myself buying one for myself. Now I tried to bid on a few, but my bids kept getting rejected, and I eventually found this one used for a great price. But I must admit, it was a bit rougher than I'd hoped for when it arrived. It had some small scratches on the case and some big scratches on the crystal. So what does this idiot do then? Well, of course, he buys a Dremel and polishes the crystal himself. Actually, successfully, thankfully. So the Seiko green tea is still in my collection, sitting next to the Seiko Irish coffee, but there's probably only room for one of them long term though, so both nails are somewhat shaky therefore. And here we are again, it's a bull of a retro reissue. I just can't stay away from the things. But it turns out I can't keep them in my collection either. This time it's the Jetstar 1973, a rarity in that it uses the precisionist 16-tick quartz movement and puts that in a case that is both wearable and attractive. If you're a fan of the 1970s look, that is. Now, I am a fan of the 1970s look, so I bought one. I bought the special edition one as it happens, but for whatever reason, it never left the box. I think it was a bit too shiny and I was frightened to scratch it, so I sold it on to someone else who has probably covered it in scratches by now. So that's 3 for 3 on the Boulevard Retro reissues then, as in 3 bought, but 3 sold. Next up, it's the one and only Timex of the year now that I think about it. It was their big 40mm Marlin in green, a gorgeous looking watch, and I bought it second hand from the same chap who sold me the King Seiko a few months prior. Great watch, good looking, hard to buy in this colour. Timex can't seem to get a handle on supply and demand, which is a surprise considering how long they have been in business. But I bought it to review it and sell it, so I bought it, reviewed it and sold it. And this is the second brightly coloured Citizen that I referred to. It's the Suyosa model with the integrated President bracelet. A great watch for sure if you're sick of the PRX and want an auto Citizen for the price of a quartz Tissot. Actually, quite often a lot less than the price of a quartz Tissot. I actually bought it lightly used and sold it again shortly thereafter, but they're now selling these here in Australia for about $200 US equivalent brand new. For that price, that is a great watch. In fact, so great that it might be in my top 5 list in a couple of weeks' time. Double trouble, I bought not one but 2 of these smaller Casio Duros. And they weren't joking when they said smaller. From 44mm in diameter down to 36mm in diameter. From 22mm lug width down to 16mm lug width. Look, I'm sure these will find favour somewhere, but not here. It's not the 4020 Duro that we were all hoping for and that would have sold 1 million units very swiftly. Your move, Casio. Now we're getting towards the end of the year and here is the Wave Scepter Casio that I picked up in October. I've worn this a lot since it arrived in the house, not just because of recency bias, but because I like it. It's really light, it's really comfortable, it has a great backlight and a ton of features that are there when you need them, but remain fairly unobtrusive when you don't need them. I'll need to get that Dremel back out though because I mullered the dial. I put a huge scratch in it when I was installing a hard drive in my computer. Silly boy Jody, you should have taken your watch off working with all those sharp edges. Another double bill and it's 2 big brand Japanese chronographs. I paid $150 for the Citizen and $300 for the Seiko. That's Aussie dollars by the way. Did I get twice the watch for twice the money? You're damn right I did. The Citizen is flimsy and tinny. The Seiko is beautiful and feels really solid. I'm going to compare the Citizen to that Baltony that headed the list today. I don't think it's got a snowball's chance, frankly. The Seiko will also get a full review soon. Now we're almost finished, only 4 watches to go. The first 3 I gave away midweek, or at least I uploaded the giveaway video midweek. I'll pick the winner in the middle of next week. A Seiko 5KX, a Citizen Pilot's chronograph and a Casio G-Shock in a rather lurid shade of orange and green. These were bought as my gift to one of you to say thanks for another great year on the channel. So if you haven't done so already, watch that video, would be a good idea if you want to win the watches. And finally, I'm going to tease you a little bit with the last watch that I bought over the last 12 months. I bought it as a bit of a Christmas present to myself. It's from a brand that has featured on the list today, but from a model range that up until now, I've never actually owned. There's a bit of a clue if you look closely at the thumbnail. Now I've recorded an unboxing video that I'm going to upload next week, so you don't have long to wait to find out, but you're welcome to guess in the comments. So there you have it, another year, another obscene number of watches purchased. I think the reason why it's slightly lower this year is because I didn't buy anything from the AliExpress 11/11 sale this time around. I just got back from my holidays and I was too frightened to spend any more money. I'm sure if I hadn't been to Europe, it'd be back up to 52 again, or pretty close to it, like the last 2 years. And the number of watches, by the way, out of the 46 that I have kept is 11. So a watch coming into this house has got roughly a 25% chance of survival. It's brutal in here. Anyway, leave me a comment. What did I keep that I should have sold, and what did I sell that I should have kept? And what did you buy over the course of 2023? Thanks for making it all the way to the end. That shows real commitment. Why not show even more commitment by watching last year's video or the one from 2021? I'll see you again in the next one.